Good evening, everyone from Bangladesh here. My name is Mohammed Al Islam, and I am an analyst at Bangladesh Angels. And we are delighted to introduce you to our three panelists, who are Sarfaraz Bhai, Hussein Bhai, and Saif Bhai. Now, to tell you a bit more about our three panelists, I'll start off with Sarfaraz. Sarfaraz Bhai is a seasoned entrepreneur as well as an adept management professional. He specializes in anticipating market challenges as well as devising strategic plans. His expertise spans across retail chains, e commerce, manufacturing, as well as supply chain management. In addition to serving as CEO and executive director at Kulshimart and K Bakery, he holds various board and advisory roles, including positions at Novel Integrated Services and Smooth Commerce. Now, our second panelist here tonight is Hussein Bhai. Hussein Bhai is an investment officer, primarily working in South Asia at Village Capital. In this role, he identifies and drives investments for the South Asia, Africa, Middle East, as well as the South Asian markets, along with the impact investments team. He also works with investment analysts on the global ventures team to strengthen their level of investment readiness. He previously worked at Deloitte, where he worked with some of the largest Indian private sector banks to provide private equity. Hussein Bhai is a chartered accountant and he currently resides in Mumbai in India. And last but not least, we have here with us Saif Bhai, who is the CEO of Apon Bazaar, and he is acclaimed for enriching the lives of Bangladesh's low-income textile workers through financial well-being. With distinguished recognitions such as Meaningful Business 100, Ashoka Fellow, and Schwab Social Entrepreneur, Saif Bhai offers expertise in the field of impact business from pioneering multiple startups to impactful ventures in corporate and social domains. He holds a master's in engineering from Carleton University and has attended various programs at universities such as Harvard, INSEAD, as well as Santa Clara. Now, that is for the introduction of our panelists. I would like to pass the mic over to Jawad Bhai for the next part of the session.
So thank you so much, Dipto. I think we'll jump right in, bring Saif Bhai in the limelight and focus, right? Saif Bhai, I know we've been in touch for a while right now, 3 or 4 years, and I know you know Nishar from very early days as well. But talk to us about Apon's early days, right? How it got started, what were the pain points that you saw that was worth solving? And how did the creation of Apon stores came into being, right? Initially, it was called Apon Well-being as well. So give us some color into your early days.
Hey, thank you, Jawad Bhai, for the introduction, and thanks. Really pleased to be here. So Apon initially started in 2017. So we are a bit more than 6 years in the market. Our initial idea was to really support RMG workers through reducing some of their costs. We never knew about what are the models we are looking into, how we can do that. But our intention was that we want to reduce the cost of living for the workers so that we can really improve their standard of living. And we just started with a grocery store inside factory where the workers can get access to all their daily necessities at a convenient and cheaper price. So the idea was that by having access to food and non-food groceries, which is more than 40% of the expenses that RMG workers spend, we can improve their livelihood, or we can improve their living standard. So to give you a context of Bangladesh RMG sector, it's more than 80% of the export earning of the country, and it employs 4 million population, which is 60% women. So it's really a good number of people, and they live below the poverty line. Most of the cases, they earn less than $4 a month, $4 a day. So those are like initial thoughts that this population group, if we can help them having a better life and better livelihood, that would be helping the economy of the country. And we believed that a full-time worker who is working in in industry, spending 8 hours, 10 hours a day shouldn't live a poor life. So with that philosophy, we started in 2017, and our journey evolved over the years. So now we have really in a much more elaborated shape than just a grocery inside factory. We cover a lot about financial inclusion of the workers, gender issues, nutrition, but all of this is through a impact model, and business model. So sometimes I really face this challenge that when we talk about this core problem and our solutions, people start thinking us as an NGO. So we are not an NGO. We are a commercially driven business solution, which looking into sustainability and impact at the same time. So yeah, so we initially started like our focus was empowerment of RMG workers, and we still remain in that focus. We never derived ourselves from that core focus, but our business model evolved and become sustainable. Now we are scaling, and I'm really delighted to be here with some of the really great news in terms of scaling and future of Apon. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it sets up my next questions very nicely, right? In terms of when you moved into this particular sector, right? It was very early. I don't think anyone else was particularly focused on it. And I'm pretty sure you did get like a lot of obstacles and setbacks along the way. Can you discuss like what was your experience like to convince that first factory to give you some space, which is paid by them and the capex is covered of the space by the factories, right? Convincing them is a tough ask. So how did you get involved? How did you get inside them? And how did you overcome?
No, the first factory, I thought the idea was really amazing. In 2016, when the idea first came, we did we wanted to do some research in a factory, and it was like I was begging for the space in the factory of 800 worker factory, and they gave us like 2 months of time to do so they said that, okay, you say whatever you are saying, we don't think that is going to happen, but still we are giving you some space. So the initial testing in 2017 was really successful on that 2 months, but unfortunately that factory didn't want us to stay because they didn't believe that this is going to be something that is impactful for them. Though we have proven that impact, but they said that it's bringing more hassle than impact. So the first factory we were successful in terms of testing whether this could bring the benefit for the worker, but the factory was not convinced. And then we started looking into factories, and I spent almost 1 year, around 10 months, meeting with more than 30 factories. 1 year, 30 factories without any positive signals from the factory. So that was, I think, the most struggling time of my life as an entrepreneur, where you believed in something, you've proven that could benefit the workers, but your counterpart, the factories, doesn't really believe that going to happen. So after 10 months, I got the first factory, which is our Atik Bhai's factory, Islam Group, Rose Garments. So Atik Bhai said that, yeah, you can do this in my factory. I think the idea is great, and we would love to do that. So that was, I think, my testing ground. And it was in February 2018. So we started in April 2017, and in February 2018, we had the first factory of Apon, where we didn't have the credit. We only had the grocery with a discounted model and insurance as the initial idea. And that was testing ground. As I said, I used my credit card to buy grocery for that factory. And my we are like 4 members. There was one shop manager for that shop, and he was saying that we had like 4 lakh taka inventory for that factory, and he said that's we will finish that in 1 day, and eventually we finished that in 2 days actually. So on 3rd day we had to buy additional inventory, and that was starting of new struggle for us. So yeah, it was really a really interesting and adventure, I would say. After the first one, we never had to look back, because then after 3 months we got one of the biggest factory of RMG sector. Then we got Ruban Apa's factory, which is Mohammadi Group. So we have got some renowned factory within 2018 in our portfolio. And 1920, we just started expanding. But the challenge was working capital initially, because every factory we work with, we need capital to inject for the inventories. Yeah, but
I'll come to the work, the setbacks that happens along the way, right? But going back to the point, right, where you went to market, different groups of people, right? Like where your target market was actually the factory workers, but you had to work through the factory, itself, right? The factory owners themselves. So how did you initially sort of get the focus of the ideal customer profiles, right, and not sort of also mix in the factories and their setbacks early on? Because as you said, for 10 months it was a struggle to find someone who will be partners with Apon, right? So how did you sort of sell Apon's value propositions for the factory, and how did you define the value propositions for the workers themselves?
I think the workers' value proposition was very simple and very clear, because they are getting $150 worth of savings from the grocery they buy in a year. Then there is $250 worth of insurance that they can get. So around $400 of saving in a year is more than 2 months of salary savings for the workers, which is very clear value proposition. And immediately when we start working in a factory, we see the workers' interest is heavy. The challenge is entering into the factory, where we have a mix of factories in Bangladesh. You'll find sweatshops, and you will find absolutely highest standard factories in Bangladesh who follow all the protocols, who maintains all the standard for export. So in this spectrum, the right size factory, the right mindset owner, the industry's overall way of managing the factories, these are all different, and you need to find the right balance of this, which took some time. So in 2018 and 19, we didn't really screened much. We actually opened wherever we got the opportunity. And then we started identifying who are the best place for us, and we started screening those initially for this B2B segment of us. B2C was always successful for us. We always get that. So for us, we try to find a right number of workers, which is like 2,000 workers max, the best business case for us for starting a shop. We need a space in the factory premises, which we currently don't need, but during that time we used to have a space in the factory which is close to entry and exit gate of the factory. We used to find out the best management, which is the management has orientation about the workers' well-being. They have a HR system, they have a software they use. Without that, we cannot actually operate, because we provide credit to the workers based on this database the factory has. So these are the main primary 3 things. And we also do some due diligence currently in terms of their track record, whether they're able to pay us back. So those kind of due diligence are currently present. But yes, initially we never screened the factory. Now we do. We are also expanding to other industries, so leather and packaging. are some of the industries that we are now currently operating beside the RMG factories.
That's absolutely brilliant. And I think like initially it was also, you were the first one to do earned wage access in a way that through commoditized trading, right? And getting into like the HR, isn't that something that came off as a value prop for the factories themselves? And were you able to like convince other factories to look into it prior to anyone else entering the market at that point?
So I think initially it was the early wage access thing was something that was, I would say it's a mixed thing. So factories who really understand this was able to really catch us. So they were immediately convinced, the HR and everything. But I think finance department and HR department need to be really understood the whole thing. We were the first mover in the market to really make them understand how we are really balancing out the risk of payment, how we are making sure the factory doesn't have any risk in terms of doing this. And we have came up with models which now other companies are following actually. We were the first person coming up with a model where there is zero risk for the factory, zero risk for Apon, and the workers are also getting benefit out of this in terms of really managing this through a system and also a structure of repayment for the workers and for the factories. So initially it took some time, but the response was mixed. People who are positive, I would not say positive, I think people who are more understanding and structured, the factories who are more understanding and structured, they were more positive about accepting us.
Okay, last question before I move into Sarfaraz Bhai, right? Like I know that for a fact that when you started off, right? And I think second last, to be honest. The second last question would be like, I know like when you started like going into factories and having this massive sort of impact, did the factory owners see a value on the impact side of things, and did it have like specific indicators that they were also tracking for having a company like, or a complementary company like Apon be in their space?
Yeah, I think the value is unparalleled. Hussein can share some of this as well because they have done a due diligence and meet up with factories as a, investor. But what I could share is that even after 2 months of operation, Apon it's very difficult for really closing Apon outlet from the factory. It becomes very difficult for the factory because the workers will never want to do that. Workers will not allow to do that. So that's our strength in terms of our value proposition, I would say. Because the factory entering is a challenge because factories sometimes see a risk of third party entering in the factory, whether we will really able to manage the workers' demand. If there is any chaos that has happened, that would be difficult for them to manage. But after our operation starts, they immediately see the benefit of the factory workers because it gives them a direct response from the factory. They want this. The credit benefit without any interest, the benefit of really quality food, convenient products inside factory for the workers who works till 5, 6, 8 p.m. and then going to the market. It's really a convenience. And there is tangible benefits like credit. There is tangible benefits like savings they generate. There is tangible benefits like insurance. So these are all things that the workers really love. And immediately the HR becomes our friends because they can show this to the buyers. Each of the factory, you'll not imagine, each of the factory we work with, the shops visit 100% of the buyers, face 100% visit of the buyers. Every day there are some buyers. If they're visiting the factory, they visit our outlet. They see what the workers are benefiting from, how they're benefiting. Our shop managers become the ambassador of Apon in the discussing with the buyers about how we serve, how we do the benefit. So Yeah, we are proud of what we do, and I think the benefit model for the factories are very clear. We have closed some of the outlets because of issues like our business target doesn't get achieved, but we are never closed our outlet because we couldn't serve or the workers are not getting benefit. There is no track record in last 6 years that our shops are being closed. So I think that's where our pride is. Our pride is our impact. Our pride is the benefit that we give to the workers.
Absolutely. And I think in terms of if your customers, which are the factory workers, right, have very high levels of satisfaction, I would say that migration levels would also go down. And there's a huge correlation there as well. Do the factories see value there in keeping Apon to make sure that their workers are satisfied as well as they can control the migration for long-term employees?
Yes. So there was, I think Gain is a third party who did a research in 2021 in terms of looking into fair price shop and the migration and productivity. And both the results has been published by Gain, where there are tremendous reduction of migration due to fair price outlet. And there are other indicators like impact in nutrition, impact in health and productivity, which has all good positive impacts. Buyers sometimes see this as a real tangible social outcome of fair price shop, and some of the buyers are now really pushing the factories to introduce fair price shops. So the value proposition are clear. I think the management challenge, middle managers of the factories sometimes still see this as a challenge, as an outside stakeholder managing us as a challenge. But otherwise, we see a lot of positive response from factory. If I consider 2018, where I took 1 year to get the first factory, in 2019-20, we didn't go to factory, but we got the leads from other factory in terms of starting Apon. So that was the change. After COVID, I think the response from factories is much more higher now. We have a list of 40 factories where we are going to open in 2024.
Excellent. And I'll come to the future plans in a bit, but thanks, Saif Bhai. Sort of, opening up the floor, right? I'll quickly go to Sarfaraz Bhai next, another retail mastermind, right? Like from Chittagong, who saw a very early interest into Apon as well. Sarfaraz Bhai, I'll come to you and ask you a fair question, right? During that time, I remember it was Apon was still not as prominent into the retail space. It had 16 or 17 opened outlets. You were very aggressive from the early on, right? I remember having those conversations as well. What were the specific value propositions you saw? Again, you're coming from a retail background as well. What were the specific values that you saw on the commercial side, right? That struck with you for the investment that you made into Apon?
Great. Thanks, Jawad. First of all, I have to thank both you and Nirjor for introducing me to Saif Bhai and the team at Apon and showing me the deck. And I was excited from the get-go, as you remember, because I come from a retail background. I've been in retail, modern trade retail for about 16 years plus. If I look back at why we even started Kulshi Mart back in those days, and why modern trade retail stores have such a value in our society. Yeah, and there are many reasons for it. And one of them, I will say, is the lack of transparency, the quality of the products available in the wet market, and things like a proper weighing scale being used, people being cheated with their products being bought from the wet market. These were many of the reasons why companies like Kulshi Mart or Agora or anybody else had started retail stores in Bangladesh to start with, to provide customers with the right product and the right quantity and the right price and the right quality as well. Even though the retail store have predominantly been around for more affluent people in the affluent parts of the country and the city, this problem still remained for people of the other segments. And what Apon was doing was trying to also address that for pretty much the bottom level of retailers in Bangladesh. These are the basic retailer consumers in Bangladesh who are factory workers, and they were deprived from this kind of facility where they could get, the right quantity and the right product, and have an opportunity to get credit to buy their products. What they were doing before Apon was around was going to corner shops, putting on, like a notebook, like writing down whatever they're buying, causing them, disagreement with the shopkeepers and all kind of stuff. Shopkeepers had bad credit from people who could not pay. Then I can go on and on what kind of difficulties and challenges everyone was still facing, ever since. So when Apon came through and they were addressing this issue, it was of definitely particular interest to me. And and wherever I invest in any sort of startup, for me the first thing is the team. And when I met the Apon team and absolutely clicked it off, Saif Bhai was someone who came from a background that had worked with NGOs, worked with the underprivileged in his past, and he was super passionate about it. He was, obviously, it's a commercial business. We want to do it for profit, but Saif Bhai had a particular passion for working with people in this sector, and that was definitely a big factor that convinced me to be part of the team. And also, having discussed with them, we felt there is things that I could share, contribute to Apon, and Apon had things that interested me very deeply. There's a lot of things that can be done in retail and replicated in this sector that I have experienced and done in the other sectors. So that was primarily the main reason I felt that was very exciting. But also, again, the commercial side of it also made sense, even though we provide such good discounts and facilities to the workers.
It's actually very interesting that you point out that the purpose of Saif Bhai and the team, right? Coming from a NGO background, having like a very good understanding on development and how to sort of look at their customers, right? Especially targeting the BOP. Um, it's really interesting, right? When you sort of pointed out that that was something that struck to you.
Yeah, and as an investor, the market is huge. I mean, as I said, the numbers, there's 44 million people in this industry, not only in the garment sector, but there's more and more workers in other industries as well that could all benefit from the product that we have. And the commercial side of it, I see huge opportunities going forward. I think we're just not even touched the tip of the iceberg yet.
Absolutely. And I think that paves the way for the next question, right? Like you are in the sector as well. You have very good strategic insights. Apon's margins have improved over the last couple of years as well. Where do you see yourself sort of helping out the team, right, going forward, and sort of facilitating these important business decisions as well?
Right. So, I mean, we have so much work to be done ahead of us. One of them, obviously, I feel what I actually learned, and to my surprise, I should share this today, is when we talk to all these workers who are who are our clients, our customers in this sector. We are, at least I went in assuming that they're already happy with the financial benefit they're getting, and we're already doing a good job. But when we kind of spoke to these customers, and they actually demanded a very high level of customer service, which kind of what we expect, or most of us expect from our retail stores in Dhaka or many of the modern cities. But we didn't expect that kind of demand from this segment of the retail industry. But they are very demanding, very what do you call it, difficult. I wouldn't say difficult, but they're demanding customers who expects to treat them as, call them sir, madam, and give them the right product, the right quality, give them the right smile at the right place. All these things where I thought were not very important for this segment of the clients, but being involved, we saw that this is a very big important factor for them. This is where also I feel I could help a lot in terms of loyalty, and customer service and distribution and product sourcing. These are matters where I feel I have a lot of experience I can add value to Apon. Um, And these are things, some of them are like in terms of loyalty, which is a huge segment of retail. We really haven't even tapped into that yet. And we feel we can definitely add value and to all the clients who have been shopping from us and provide them a much higher shopping experience, along with the other financial benefits that they're getting. And this will definitely impact the broader scale of customers that we have in this segment.
And I think like it's interesting as well, Kulshi Mart as well as Apon serving like two distinct customer bases, right? But
Absolutely, two different pole ends of it. We are Kulshi Mart has always positioned itself as a premium grocery store. We're not a discount store. We focus more on customer service and product and all that stuff. And it was interesting for me when I heard about Apon because I felt me as an investor, I feel I have a lot to learn and a lot to contribute in this segment, which has a much bigger market space than in the premium grocery segment that I'm currently in. And and the opportunity and the financial inclusion of all these people are things that also has a great value besides financial value.
absolutely. And I think that's great to hear from you as well, Pa. And in terms of your early days till now, what has changed the most? If you have to like sum it up in a brief.
As Saif Bhai was saying, we are constantly evolving our product and how we position ourselves. When I had come into Apon 3 years or some back, we were primarily retail store, and we were focused on, like I said, product distribution and sourcing and all kind of stuff, trying to provide for these workers. But now I think we are more of a fintech company than a grocery store, and we have positioned ourselves in that way, and we see huge opportunities to kind of provide this additional facility to the shoppers, which would kind of take Apon's opportunities to whole different level. Like Saif Bhai was saying, now we have an app that the workers can use to order online, and we don't actually need a physical store inside factories, which was our initial model going forward. But nowadays we are approaching factories where they do not have opportunity to provide space for an actual physical store. So there are factories that are in multiple multi-level buildings where they don't have opportunity to provide X amount of space for us to open a store. Those markets were previously not reachable for us. With the new app and the new fintech model that we are planning to, we've already launched and we're trying to kind of grow it right now. It just opens up doors for all kind of sectors and all kind of industry and factories of all sizes we are going to be able to serve. And this is just one example of how Apon is constantly evolving.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sarfaraz Bhai. I'll come back to you at the end, but I think the
Sure.
fintech angle, I think also the future plans, yeah, I'll touch up on it at the end. But before that, I think we have our next panelist. But before we go to Hussein and his perspective after the angel round was done, I'll quickly go to my team. Team, I think you have a video of Apon that you want to quickly play.
Yes.
Both of
So just to
you.
give the audience a better idea, and you've been hearing the story of Papanji, but just to give you better context, we'll quickly share a feature that was actually made by BBC on Apon a few years back. So just to give you guys an idea of how Apon on the field really looks like.
Imagine a shop where all your goods are
Can you hear
discounted,
the audio now?
and if you buy enough, it could save your life. Too good to be true? Welcome to Apon, a shop for factory workers in Bangladesh.
If the customer buys 2,000 taka, which is around $23 per month for consecutively 3 months, from the 4th month they get health insurance.
The garment industry is vital to the Bangladeshi economy. It employs 4 million people and exports clothes around the world. But most workers are on the minimum wage of $100 a month. This man wants to help them.
These workers, if you look into their housing, their health condition, their basic necessities, is not appropriate. We started believing that the person who is full-time employed should not live poor. They should be at least living a good life.
So he persuaded factories to give him space for a shop. Then he negotiated discounts on goods from suppliers.
So this is the main selling item, rice. We sell rice. You have, this is all the spices for cooking. Shaving items. In this side, you will see sanitary napkin.
The goods are 7 to 10% cheaper than outside the factory. And here's the big difference. Spend $23 for 3 months and you get a year's health insurance. Healthcare is a big expense, and if you're off work, there's no sick pay. Rashidul was off work for 9 days with a leg problem.
আগে তো আমার হয়তো এমন ব্যাধি হয়েছে অসুস্থ হয়েছি মাস শেষ হয়ে গেছে আমার কাছে টাকা নাই আমার চিকিৎসাও নাই
Getting his health insurance card paid for his treatment.
আমাকে এই টাকাটা আপন ইচ্ছাগতভাবে আমার শরীরের সুবিধার জন্য বা সংসারের সুবিধার জন্য দিয়ে দিছে যার জন্য আমি অনেক খুশি
The Lauer needed treatment for sinus problems.
এটা দিকে আমি অনেকটা উপকার পাচ্ছি আমি এক লগে এত টাকা নিজে করতেও পারি না এইটা দিয়ে আমি উপকারটা পাচ্ছি
Shonali likes the food she gets from the shop.
মানে খাবারের দিকটাও ভালো পাচ্ছি তারপরে এমনি শরীরের দিকটাও ভালো পাচ্ছি শরীরটা সুস্থ আছে ভালোভাবে কাজ করতে পাচ্ছি
But only half the workers in this factory use the shop. Panna is pregnant and has spent a lot on doctors.
আমি আপনের সার্ভিস নিতে পারি না আমার বাসা অনেক দূরে আর ফ্ল্যাট হচ্ছে 6 তলা এই জায়গা থেকে বাজার নিয়ে যাওয়ার মতো সম্ভব না হেঁটে যাইতে হয়
So why not push for higher wages? Saif says it doesn't always help.
The reality is when you increase the salary, the rental increases, and the cost of goods increases, the transportation increases, and the real impact doesn't go to the worker. It needs to be an inclusive solution where the workers can get inclusive help.
Apon now has 11 shops and Saif hopes more workers will sign up.
This can be a win-win benefit for all parties involved. So if you have a better healthy worker, the factory gets benefit. If the health is better, the workers can get better benefit out of their salary.
So yeah, I think this gives a good idea to the audience of what actually Apon does on the field. And this is from I think 2019. So Apon has grown significantly like ever since. Like now currently they have over 30 plus stores serving 170k plus customers. So yeah, over to Jadbeh to take lead of the session again.
No, absolutely. Thanks so much, Motasim. I think it paints a lot of color, right? But at the same time, the company has grown in a lot of different ways, and I think it sets up nicely for Hussein Bhai, who's up next for the Q&A. Hussein Bhai, I think I remember in the early days, I think it was just a recommendation that you sent out, right? But at the same time, there was a lot of due diligence that happened on the back end, right? So I wanted to come to you to sort of understand how did that process align with Village Capital, I think as well, and what were the specific, indicators that you saw on the commercial side as well as the impact side that made Apon into a very interesting investable opportunity for you?
Okay. Thank you everyone for inviting me here. It's an honor actually. I'm very, very happy to be here. So to answer that question, I think I'll give a brief kind of overview on the pipeline that we had. So it was a nomination process where we reached out to multiple people and we wanted companies that were at a very specific stage, because the amount, the ticket size also was designed for a sort of company that would be at a certain stage. So that was our first level of filter, where we did not open it up to everyone. It was a very closed nomination process. We received applications. This specific facility and program was open to companies largely in South Asia and Africa. Now, after that, we then did an initial kind of filtering just based on the business model. And the objective again of this facility was reducing inequalities. That was the theme of this entire facility. And the hope was to find companies and invest in companies that are using technology to make products or services accessible to people who do not have access to the regular stuff that you and I take for granted. Yeah, so that was the theme of this whole investment facility. Now, after that, again, we then opened up applications to these very few select companies. We had detailed conversations with all of the companies. And for the final kind of selected companies, we actually, me along with my team members, we visited in person to understand operations. I remember Saif Bhai, Arafat Bhai, and even Sarfaraz Bhai came along with me to, I think those were tiring days. We used to leave at 8 in the morning and we used to be back at like 6 p.m. after meeting countless factories, partners, all of that. So that's kind of the level of diligence that we did on the few select. I remember we had about 7 companies that we visited, and through this facility, 4 of those companies are being invested in. Yeah, so along with the regular stuff, the legal due diligence, all of that, there were field visits. We wanted to really understand, does this company have the impact that we are looking for, which is reducing inequalities through use of technology and offering product services? And also, most importantly, this is personally for me, does it have the ability to absorb a certain amount of capital? Because you want to invest in a company that has the ability to put that capital to good use. So Apon was a great fit for all the criteria, and that's why we kind of decided.
And to be specific, I think in terms of what and you I think mentioned this as well, right? The accessibility part is something that was a huge, value proposition in terms of the investment mandate, right? And I see like specific indicator that Apon does really well in is percentage of users who does not have alternative access to a similar product like Apon, right?
Yes, it's 9 out of 10, if I remember correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think like that's something is quite telling, right? In terms of one, the business model, if it's the right go to market, if it's the right ICPs that you're identifying, um, you can roll out a business model and scale it, right? But at the same time, if you look at a certain indicator like that you have no access in, then you're probably going to monopolize that market, right? So do you have certain thematic in your mind behind these impact indicators that also push you towards commercial growth for these companies?
Sorry, your voice broke off. So do you have thematic? I think that's where I.
Like, do you have like these indicators that you see on the impact side, right? Do they have like again goals that are also commercial on the back end?
So the objective was 100% to invest in a company that can at least return the capital. That was non-negotiable. So, uh, I, and the way, again, these 60 decibels impact reports that we are referring to for
Yeah.
listeners' context. So it was an extensive exercise where this firm called 60 decibels carried out interviews with, I think, 100 plus end customers of the company.
120.
120, thank you. Yeah, so they actually went and spoke to 120 end customers of the company, and they put together these impact metrics. Now, so the way we used this was, and the way initially also the thinking was, that we will use the findings from these reports to validate our own beliefs of impact. And that is the main way in which we have used it. Again, just sharing our own thinking. We did not want an instance where we thought or we saw a certain thing happening at the factory or at the partners, and the impact report saying something else. So for us, it was one additional data point in just making sure that yes, impact is very, very strong. And the commercial bits were kind of irrespective of the outcome of this exercise, those were assessed separately.
Absolutely. And in terms of the mesh, right? What do you guys like seeing? I know you've highlighted some of them, right? But in terms of the broader scope, usually what do you guys like seeing? And you have also, pointed out that the invested capital has to come back, right? And there is a commercial angle to it as well. So how do you sort of see the broader scope of investment opportunity in Bangladesh? And what are some of the companies or industries you like?
So I honestly don't think I'll have too much valuable information to add there, because so this has been the first investment in Bangladesh. Yeah. So, and I think my personal bias also kind of had a role to play. I will agree, because I'm really fascinated with the retail industry. I know that it's very, very difficult to do it profitably, and I know that the risk is also really high, because very often the capital invested by the company is high in most cases. And in this case, because uh, the facility was in the factory itself, it was a huge de-risker for me personally. Why I kind of believed in the model, and again had the discussion with the team that this really makes a lot of sense. The risks are really contained, and the opportunity to provide impact are much higher versus that. So generally, I feel that was one specific incident for Apon. But generally, I would say the value proposition again was so strong. And again, in my mind, the best kind of companies are the ones where the factory itself has a strong value proposition to put the Upon store in. So there is a high incentive even for the decision maker to use this solution, which is very, very rare to find. There's a high incentive for the decision maker, and as Saif Bhai pointed out, once the factory is there, the workers will probably not let that factory not be there after a certain point. So that stickiness is so great. Just that combination of factors is so good, and it's rare to find that in many companies.
I think Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is also another interesting pointer, right? And I think Saibha was also saying this, a net promoter score that we saw, right? In terms of people recommending Apon services to others. I think even like having, a high net promoter score is a very good tell, right? Is that something, I know you guys saw that, but how do you sort of get into the science of it in the back end?
Yeah, so I'll give you just exactly what happened. Okay, after this 60 decibels report came, and it's very, very insightful. But I'll tell you a challenge that I personally faced. So, Apon's model is not strictly a fintech or a financial inclusion company. Okay, and when this survey was carried out, I think the assumption was that this is a fintech company. So it became what ends up happening is for a worker, ultimately they are not going to Upon saying that I'm going to avail a fintech product. They are not going there because they want credit, or they want the insurance, etc. They are going there because Upon says I'll give you high quality goods at a discounted rate in the factory premises. That's what they are going for. And then when you start asking a customer with that mindset, things about financial inclusion and goals and financial goals and emergency and stuff like that, it's not the immediate thing that is in their mind. At least that was my interpretation of this exercise. And what I learned then was that it becomes very important when you have these blended models, and if you're doing these sorts of impact exercises, to really narrow down your questioning based on what the customer's expectation from the product is. Yeah, so that kind of I'm sorry, I forgot the original question, but I just felt this was an
I think
important thing to bring up.
No, I think it is in tandem, right? Like, and I feel like the direction where it is heading right now, right? What are some of the outcome indicators or outcomes that you want to see, right? Out of the investment that you've made and in the next 24 months for Apon?
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and I remember, so your original question was about NPS. Now, so NPS again, for us, it was more of a validating factor that yes, the impact is there. People do have good things to say about it, because we did not again want a situation where the data is telling us something else and we believe something else. Yeah, so that was to kind of wrap up the previous question, where we kind of see this going is, I think focus is very, very important, especially in my opinion, in something like retail. It becomes easy to try and do many different things to kind of keep the customers happy. But I'm sure, Saif Bhai and the team have also realized that now they found the sweet spot. So using this investment to rapidly scale the operations is probably something we would expect.
Absolutely. And I think I'll go to Saib Bhai quickly. Thanks, Hussein, for that wonderful breakdown, what happened behind the scenes. Saib Bhai, I'll quickly come back to you, right? And go to the fintech side, right? And how you're envisioning Apon's next steps in 2024 and beyond. Can you give us some color?
Sure. So as Hussein was saying, I think we are one of the firm believer in terms of keeping our focus intact. So, and that's how we have grown. That's how we have really emerged in this industry from the challenge. So we have found the spot where we can actually become, and we have become sustainable with the grocery store itself, and we positioned ourselves inside factory where we become omnichannel. So for this workers group, in Bangladesh, we have a lot of models which just tried to do digital and they have failed. And we said that no, only digital cannot be something for this workers group. We need to find a blended solution where we can really solve the problems of the worker. I think our future and the current model is more becoming like a platform of solutions, but keeping the physical and digital together. So in terms of delivery, in terms of delivering service, we will keep ourselves physically available. Even where we have digital stores, we have people in the factories where we can really connect with the workers. We can really make sure the service we are offering to the workers and the factories are intact. We don't deviate from there. So we are becoming a platform. We are plugging in more services in insurance, healthcare, and finance. So currently, the grocery credit will be added with new and additional types of purposeful financial inclusion service like account opening, bank access, like the installment facilities for the workers. But yes, everything is built on our physical grocery store. So you come in the store, you get all the service that are required for the workers with a benefit model. We are not going to charge additional service fee for the workers because that's not our purpose. We want them to get better benefit with our platform.
Excellent. And in terms of, the consortia of investors you have now, right? How do you sort of take strategic guidelines and help from them?
Jawad bhai, I probably didn't get your question. Can you ask again?
In terms of the backers you have now, right? Compared to like 2019, right now you have strategic angels, impact investors as well, right? Even more investors are looking into it right now. how do you sort of leverage their, insights and sort of also try to stay focused as you grow from 2024 and beyond?
So I think we have really clear governance structure in terms of Apon's future. So the angels and also the new investor sits in the board. They make all the decision in terms of our budget, future plan, and also the KPIs that we decide for the company. So that's how they enter into the operation and governance and management structure of Apon and decide how we are going to progress. We have also like 5 years strategic plan where we involve our stakeholders, mainly the investors and the board, in terms of deciding that, and also the yearly plans that we develop. Like in 2024, we have already made our plans and actually is validated by the board. So they are part of all the support, and like Sarfaraz Bhai, who sits in the direct board, but also he is somebody who helps us on a daily basis, right? So for example, we opened our store in Chittagong and Sarfaraz Bhai was there to really talk with the factory management, and I think these are real clear support that we have from the investors in the system. Our software we are developing, there are people from a new investor like Village Capital, so they also extend technical support. So our future platform model, we are already seeking like our technical fintech solution support from Village Capital beside other technical support we are seeking. So yeah, strategic level, management level, and future business model level, they're all involved in terms of our work.
And it's important to be aligned as well, right? Because like there are different types of investors. It is commercial, impact, donor funds as well. So how do you sort of keep everything aligned in terms of what is the perfect balance for growth and impact to go hand in hand?
I think the one of the this is clearly a most important question for a founder in terms of when you look into impact businesses like us. Sometimes we focus or we lose the balance of commercial viability and impact, or we sometimes really look into sustainability and getting funding, and we do something else what we started planning to do. So I think this was very crucial from the beginning of Apon, because of my experience in my previous organization. I have seen how we can really derail as a founder or entrepreneur in terms of focus on impact and our sustainability piece. There are several levels of work that has gone through during the last 4 or 5 years, including how we really balance impact in our operation model, how we really build KPIs which tackles both impact and commercial viability, including in the governance system, how we really educate the board in terms of impact. Sometimes you will have boards which really doesn't go into the vision. They like the vision, but they don't really go into it. So you need to educate your board in terms of your impact. Sometimes you need to educate in my past organization, I have to educate my board in terms of commercial viability. Because they are so much into impact, they sometimes really ask us to do NGO type of work. So you need to educate them. You need to also involve them so that they can be part of it. They can be part of the operation management and decision-making process. So I think this is one of the crucial piece in terms of engaging the board members and really getting their support and endorsement. The second piece is how you build your operation model and KPIs, which are balanced in terms of your impact and commercial aspect of it. So I was talking with Maxime in another webinar, and we are really thankful for seeing to be in the place of supporting us, because they are one of the party in the beginning when we were so much juggling with 10 different types of impact, and they came in with us and shaped our impact focus to 3 out of 10. And then we build this tree into our operation model in a way that if we do just focus on commercial activities, impact is like automatic thing for us. We build those in our software. So those are kind of things that I think we are blessed with in terms of support mechanism from different people during our journey towards making this a balanced organization, which is impactful, commercially viable, and scalable.
I think Maxime has an interesting question as well. I think we did not talk about the pivot from your dedicated discount stores to becoming a marketplace and platform for your buyers and customers, right? Can you give us the decision behind it and how did you sort of manage the pivot?
So we are not pivoting from a discount store. We are just making sure that because that's our main entry point for the factory. We are ensuring that we utilize 100% of the opportunity that we have inside factory in reaching workers through our discount store and making this a service point for the workforce. So when they're coming to as I think Hussein was really making this point that they're coming for products, but we are really providing the financial solution through credit. They're not realizing that otherwise they would go to probably a person to get cash and then buy grocery on that cash. Rather, they're coming to get groceries where they're getting financial access. Money itself is not something that they need. They need services. And for example, insurance is such like this. So we are providing automatic insurance to the workers. And when they're getting the service free of cost, they realize the benefit. So that's the value that Apon creates. And this grocery store can become platform for services they need crucially, like banking solution. The woman cannot go to a marketplace for a banking service for savings during the day when they're working. So we are creating that access in the factory. So yeah, the platform is not a pivot. It's just building on what we have.
Absolutely. And I hope that answers the question, Maxime. Absolutely brilliant. If you have any follow-ons, please feel free to share in the chat or even ask to the group. But I'll go to Saif Bhai again. I know you have an announcement, Saif Bhai. And I know we are not gonna discuss the full extensive video of it, and but I do want to come back to you, right? In terms of your messages and final thoughts for the audience here today. I know we have taken 15 more minutes than our usual time, but yeah, if you have anything to share, please feel free to.
No, I think I'm good. We have taken a lot of time of the audience, but I really want to appreciate Hussein and Sarfaraz Bhai, you joined early in the morning from Toronto. Really appreciate your time. Hussein, thank you so much for joining during this time. Really appreciate your thoughts and all the time you have given.
And absolutely, and from Bangladesh Angels, Sarfaraz Bhai, really, warm welcome as well. I hope I see you when you're in town.
Of course, and I'm looking forward to seeing your whole Bangladesh Angel team and the members that are launching on the 7th.
Yeah, absolutely, likewise. And
really excited about the achievements we've had and showcase it and share with everybody, and some big announcements coming up. We'll keep our mouth shut till then.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think Saif Bhai, that was what I was referring to, audience who are here today. If you're in town in Bangladesh, please feel free to join us on the 7th of February. I think the investment announcement will take place physically, and we're not going to go into details today, but you're all invited. You please be in touch with the band team. The band team will help facilitate as well. But we're really excited for the next steps. And Hussein Bhai, thank you again for taking up the time. I know it's a Sunday, it's your off day as well. But thank you for joining in today and spending some time with the band partners and family.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you, Jawad, for organizing this.
Thank you,
Anytime.
Jawad, band team.
Thank you, everyone.